Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to bring a tag to you today. I'm going to do a book tag, and this one is the To Die For tag. Now, this particular tag was going around, was it a couple weeks ago maybe? A lot of people were doing this, and I had it on my list of tags to do, and I just didn't get to it. And so now I wanted to get to it. So this was created by Peter the Book Lover, and I saw it on Mark's channel over at Book Time with Elvis, and there were several other people that did it, but that's the one where I took my notes on the questions, or should I say the question, because this is a pretty simple tag that anybody could do. All you got to do is look at your TBR list and or look in your cart or your basket on like Amazon or ABE Books or wherever you do your online shopping. What books did you want to buy? So the official question for this tag is choose 5 books you want to buy and talk about them. 5 books, talk about them. Okay, so pretty simple tag. Anybody could do this, because I think if you're watching this, that means you're probably a book lover. So there's probably lots of them that you want to buy. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get started. And I'm going to cheat this just a little bit. And maybe this is a crime, I don't know. But I'm not going to pick 5 individual books. I think what I'm going to do is pick 5 sets of books or 5 authors series that I want to get. And a couple of these, I've already got some of them. I just haven't completed the set. And so I'm going to start with Philip R. Craig. And you guys have all heard me talk about, if you've watched the channel in the last year or so, you've probably heard me talk about Philip R. Craig. He writes cozy mysteries that are all based around Martha's Vineyard. There's a whole series of these, and J.W. Jackson, who is an ex-cop from Boston, he had got shot in the line of duty and went into disability retirement, and now he lives on Martha's Vineyard, where he lived as a child with his father. And the whole series is, like I said, created around murder mysteries that happen on Martha's Vineyard, and J.W. Jackson is called in to help with those, investigate those murder mysteries in one way or another. And it also involves his wife Z and their 2 children, so they've got a family there. Z is a nurse at the hospital, so sometimes she helps out with information and the mysteries. And depending on how early you are in the series, they might not be married yet and have kids. That would be early on in the series, and then a quarter of the way through, or a couple books in, they got married, and then about a quarter of the way through, they had kids, and of course that continues as the family got older. And so I had been reading these from a public library, and I'd read a handful of them from the public library, but I found out that our public library, one of them only had, was it 3, maybe 4 books, and then our one that's in our hometown, it didn't have any of them until I asked her to order them, and then she ordered in a couple of them. And so I was like chomping at the bit to read these, and then Steve Donahue sent me a box full of these from the Brattle, and I have now officially read all of these copies. And you'll see the ones with the white tags on them; those are signed copies. That was kind of cool. But I have, how many in the series? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 of them in this series, and I would really, really like to complete this series. Now, to complete it, I'd have to buy 12 more books. And I wrote down the titles here. A Beautiful Place to Die, Death in Vineyard Waters, Vineyard Deceit, Vineyard Poison, Death on a Vineyard Beach, A Deadly Vineyard Holiday, A Fatal Vineyard Season, Vineyard Shadows, A Vineyard Killing, Murder at the Vineyard Mansion, Vineyard Prey, and then there is a Delish, the J.W. Jackson recipes. And throughout the books, J.W. Jackson likes to cook. He cooks for himself and for his wife and kids. He's the main chef in the house, and so he always does a couple, 3 recipes in the book that he talks about. And so that was kind of an add-on to the series. But yeah, I would really like to buy those books I just listed, because as I said, I've got all of these in the series, and I'd like to complete the series. So that's 1 That's going to count as one book that to die for, one series to die for. Another series that I am desperately wanting to collect because I'm just enjoying the stories, and that is Ian Fleming, who wrote the James Bond books. And there were 13 of them in all, and I own 4. I think I own 5. I think there's a 5th one somewhere in my house. I don't know why it's not on the shelf right behind me. I think I own From Russia with Love, but I need to double check. But anyway, these are the ones that I own. I found all these. So we got For Your Eyes Only, The Spy Who Loved Me, Casino Royale, and Moonraker. And I have read, let's see, I think I actually have read all of these. I'm on the last one right now. There might be one that I haven't read. But anyway, I started reading these. I'm enjoying these. They're just, they're James Bond thrillers. And I would like to own them all. But my problem is, where I bought them, I actually found a handful of the other copies, but they were different covers. And I'm going to get picky, I think. And you'll notice that all the covers are very, very similar on these. These are the Signet books. And so I would like to have the other 9 books in the series. And I have found a place to get them. I just got to pull the trigger. And the ones that I don't have are Diamonds Are Forever, Dr. No. I think I may have From Russia with Love. I just got to find it. Goldfinger, Live and Let Die, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and Thrilling Cities. Those are the 9 that I want to get for that, so that I can complete that James Bond series of paperbacks. Those are very, very enjoyable. So anyway, so that's number 2 on my choose 5 books, or I'm going to do sets. The next one that I chose for this, and I'm really kicking myself on this, and I think I told you this in a couple earlier videos, P.G. Wodehouse and The Inimitable Jeeves. Now, I found this at Books Revisited, and I just recently read, I found it about a year ago, and I recently read it in the last, I thought it was 2 weeks. I read this. And it is absolutely hilarious. Jeeves is the butler, and him and Bertie Wooster. Bertie Wooster is the rich guy who employs Jeeves, and Bertie's he's kind of he's a rich guy who doesn't have a job and kind of just lives on family money, and he's lazy. To me, he's lazy. He just spends his money is all he does, and kind of lives through life. He has no family, no girlfriend, or at least not a permanent one, according to this book anyway. And Jeeves is the very, very intelligent servant who puts out his clothes, fixes his meals, does his travel plans for him, goes with him, and just does everything for him. And it is a classic relationship. It is very good British humor, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Thought it was hilarious. Bertie Wooster's always getting into trouble. Jeeves is always getting him out of the trouble. And I think I told you in an earlier video that when I got done reading this, I was laughing. Just laughing my head off, and I told my wife, I said, I got to get the other ones of these, and they read just like a sitcom. This would be perfect for a sitcom, not knowing that there was a sitcom. And lo and behold, I went to Books Revisited that day, and there was a set of VHS tapes, two sets of them for P.G. Wodehouse in the TV series that the British BBC put out. And I don't have a VHS anymore. I used to have a dual VHS DVD, and now that kind of shot craps, and so I only have a DVD player now, and so I did not buy them. But I did find them online on YouTube and thoroughly enjoying that. But long story short, when I bought this originally, there was a whole stack of these. I don't know that it was all of them, but it was probably a third of all of the Jeeves and Wooster books, and I should have bought all of them. There was 4, 5, 6 more, and I should have bought all of those books. Wish I would have. And now I'm going to be on the lookout. And I specifically want this style from Penguin. I like that style. It's kind of unique, and it's got the yellow spine on it. But anyway, that is book number 3. Book number 4 that I am going to pick. And this is like a set of books from early in his career. And I've got lots of Michael Crichton stuff on the shelf. There's a bunch of them. I've got, I believe, possibly all but one of his more modern. So I call them science fiction. They're labeled as just fiction, but I call them a little bit of science fiction. But anyway, I've got all of the modern ones. But early in his career, he wrote some, I don't know if they were medical mysteries or medical thrillers, but I want to look into those and get those medical books, because that was originally what his degree was I believe he got a degree in medicine of some sort. And it shows in his writing, because he's very intelligent in how he writes about the medical world and also the science world. But anyway, I want to get the early stuff in Michael Crichton's career, and I didn't get a list of those books wrote down, but they're medical, either thrillers or mysteries. I have to look more into that, but I'd like to get those for my collection. So that's number 4 of book sets that I would like to complete. And I'd also like to do, I'm just going to throw this in there, it's going to make my book list more than 5, but I would also like to get the old John Jakes stuff. Now, I just last night watched the Garbogist video that Steve Donahue put out, and he read Brock the Barbarian by John Jakes. And I was like, oh, I want that, because I really want to go back and get those early books. And he was a prolific writer. He had a ton of books. I looked him up last night, and there was a big, long list of books that he had put out early in his career before the Kent Family Chronicles, which Steve talked about in his video. He had those, and then he had some science fiction stuff, and I'm not a big science fiction reader, but I'm willing to give it a try, and I really like John Jakes' writing, so I'd like to try that early stuff. So I kind of throw those in with Michael Crichton. I'm not going to count that against my book list. But okay, so my last one that I chose, the last set of books that I chose, that somebody had asked me on in the comment section of one of my videos if I had Abraham Lincoln's biography that John Hay and John Nicolay wrote after his death, and it was in the 1880s sometimes, and they put a 10-volume series out. The Clarinda Library has it, the lead library has it, and I've read the first 2 or 3 volumes of it, and I enjoyed it. I would really like to get that 10-volume series, or if they, smashed it into a 5-volume, 2 per volume, I would be fine with that. I haven't really looked that up, but that is something else I would really desperately like to get for my collection. I collect Abraham Lincoln. If you've been following the channel for any length of time, it doesn't take long to figure that out. I've got well over 100 books on Lincoln, and I just enjoy reading about him. He had a fascinating life, and if you do any Lincoln scholarship, everybody goes back to those Hay and Nicolay books, that 10-volume series, and I desperately want to get those and add those to my collection. So anyway, BookTube, that is my 5. My 5, not books, individual books, but 5 series of books by authors that I would like to buy for my my collection here at home. Let me know what books you want to buy, or if you haven't done this video, you could make your own video and give the top 5 books. Stick to the rules, single books, not series. I alone am the one that can cheat the rules. So anyway, BookTube, I hope you've enjoyed this. Get to thinking about your TBR list, what you want to get bought and read. So until next time, BookTube, happy reading.